Good morning. Come on in to the Neighborhood Superstar Podcast. Good morning to you all. Hope everything is all right with you guys. Hope you guys safe, living your life like it's golden today. Man, today I'm gonna put my 2 cent in on the horrific murder of the conservative debater Kurt Curtis Kirk. I'm sorry, Charlie Kirk. You can obviously tell I don't know who this guy is. I never heard of him until this unfortunate incident. I've been watching a lot of shorts on him. Um, Found a new show that I like a couple of weeks ago. It's called Jubilee, and I'm in the middle of watching the debate that he had on that show. Heard a lot of different things about him. I don't want to form my opinion on this guy without really not knowing who he is or not even hearing what he got to talk about. A lot of the podcasters that I watch, they say some bad things about him. Some say some good things about him. But today I woke up to the news and found out that they caught his alleged shooter. So they speaking on it right now. Trump went on Fox News this morning and said that it was somebody close to him that turned him in. You know what I'm saying? Last night. So stay tuned, man. Let's check this out. Please leave your comments in the chat. Uh, Feel free to say whatever you like. Once again, I want to point out the fact that I don't know who this guy is, never heard of him, never seen him until this unfortunate incident. So let's get down to it, man. Let's check it out the news.
This person now being brought into custody, the president saying that he believes with a high degree of certainty that this individual is the person who fired that fatal shot, killing Charlie Kirk in broad daylight with thousands of witnesses and attendants as he visited this campus, Utah Valley University, the first stop in what was supposed to be a nationwide tour. Now, earlier investigators had painted a grim timeline from surveillance footage where they spotted this individual arrive on campus at 11:52 a.m. And then using other camera angles, they were able to follow this person through stairwells and up onto a roof where they say he stretched out in a prone position. And then at around 12:20, just a few minutes after Charlie Kirk began fielding questions from the crowd, they say he fired a single fatal shot that struck Kirk in front of the crowd. Now, we do know that Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital, but passed away soon after. As for the next steps of this...
Shout out to the 27 people tuning into the Neighborhood Superstar Podcast.
And that was one of the videos.
37. Shout out.
And Morgan, it seems like one of the videos that made a big difference, knowing that somebody who seems to be familiar with the suspect is actually who alerted authorities. Morgan Chesky in Utah for us.
Let's get those likes up.
Bring in our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. Tom has been all over this. You actually have some new information for us this morning.
Yes, Amanda, so it is, as authorities described, an individual in their early 20s, 22 years old, from Utah, the person that is now in custody, believed to be the person who is...
Let's get those likes up. 40 people in the building.
A family member saw the photos that had been put out there, the same photos that we're looking at right now, saw those photos, confronted their son, and then called police. At that point, he was taken into custody, and right now is in the process of, they're obviously trying to talk to him. We don't know if they're talking to him, but to recap again, this suspect in the early 20s, 22 years old, from Utah, is in custody right now, believed to be the suspect after a family member saw the photos that we've been looking at now for the last 24 hours or so, confronted their son and said, look, effectively, is this you? And at that point, there's a point where he's turned into police, and that's where the investigation stands. I think soon we'll be able to report to you a name on this individual. Obviously, we're in the process of starting to pour over social media accounts, and LinkedIn pages, all that type of stuff, to try and determine if anything's been posted by this person over the last several days, anything that could point to a motive. Sometimes people leave writings behind.
We got 65 people in the building. Let's get those likes up.
That'll all be part of the investigation, but to confirm the news, that
73
has said himself, just in the last 20 minutes or so, it appears there's been obviously a major breakthrough here.
Absolutely. Tom Winter confirming that news for us. Again, an announcement that the president president had made just a moment ago on Fox News. There is now a suspect in custody. New details there. Hunter in his early 20s and turned in by someone who actually knew him. That information coming, of course, after that video and photos were put out of a suspect, a person of interest here. There's much more coverage ahead on our streaming channel, NBC News Now, and online at NBCnews.com.
All right, guys. Man, we got 106 people checking out 121 people as I speak, checking out the Neighborhood Superstar Podcast. Man, as we see, man, his parents was the one who turned him in. Asked him, "Is this you?" Wow. My question is this right here. What made this man go and kill this guy? If anybody know in the comments, please share your opinion. Now, I got a special guest in the building right here. My wife, she's gonna give us some insight on what she think the reason why this guy was actually murdered. Go ahead, baby.
Well, they said something about the rifle having something to do with some transgender writing on the rifle. So we already know it's going to be somebody that either is making an excuse. I mean, I really don't know, but it's going to have something to do with that community. I'm pretty sure.
Something to do with the transgender community.
Yes, because
Wow.
it has something about something transgenderish on the rifle, which he probably got that idea from the Catholic school shooter because he put all that bullshit on his rifle.
Wow.
And they're all part of the same. And I don't know, man. My opinion is it's bullshit.
Russia paid him. Oh, so you believe? So shout out to the person that's in the chat room right now, man. So you believe this is a conspiracy? You believe Russia paid this shooter to kill him? I'm one for a good conspiracy. I can see some kind of conspiracy going on like that, bro. I can see something like that.
We got to find out who this kid is that got him. He's not dead, so we'll be able to.
We got to find out who this person is, man. I'm surprised that they actually found him. We got Timothy. Timothy said, I think it was the grandson of the old man that took that. I think it was the grandson of the old man that took the right after the shot, the way he was dressed and talking. Okay. You know what? I kind of felt the same way, man, too. When I seen that old man, that old man he acted as a decoy. He probably was up there raising hell, and then when all this commotion was going on, they said, "Let's get this guy." You know what I'm saying? So that's a good one right there, man. I actually said the same thing.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense too, don't it?
Yeah.
Right now, any scenario makes sense. But
Things seem fishy. I agree with you.
what do you say?
He said things seem fishy.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, that was a hell of a shot. I know anybody can go out and train themselves to make that shot.
Well, the authorities said this person either military or
Right.
they go to the shooting range. So
That was a hell of a shot.
that was a hell of a shot, man.
I wish he would have fucking missed.
Yeah.
I wish he would have missed.
You've got to connect him. You've got to have evidence.
Let's get back to the news,
Well,
y'all.
you
Let
started
me connect
with
back to the
ignition. That's what it
news.
sounds like. So he's being questioned. They're trying to match that palm print, get the rapid DNA off the lab.
I got 3 minutes.
Guy we want the murder warrant for, or the federal warrant for. It could go either way. I mean, Utah's got a clear-cut murder case here. I mean, they have the death penalty. That's a pretty clean case. It's not necessary to be a federal charge. I mean, they could want it to be a federal charge, but it's not necessary. And if it is a federal charge, you're going to have to, have other elements of proof that it was politically motivated and/or if he traveled interstate, and he bought the firearm from another state,
We have interstate transportation of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony, which would be murder. And we used to charge an ATF a lot on these killers that would travel. So that could be added too. It's not a terrorism charge, but it's a federal charge.
Yeah, I seen him limping
But the state
right
has a
when he
good
jumped
case
off the
here,
building.
So you know, it could very well be the DA charges it.
Couple of days. It's been 48 hours. There have been two other persons of interest who were brought in who were
Now,
ultimately.
Spronzy didn't break a leg or break an ankle when he jumped.
I wish he woulda.
It seems like at least the president.
That's
said they
easy right
are
there.
at a high degree of
I
And
would have
look-
hurt myself so
Look,
bad.
I'm gonna tell you what it looked like. He started limping right here.
That's what happens next. I mean, really,
Right when he come up.
Oh, look, that's a limp right there. You
Right
saw that
there.
little limp?
Yeah, now you're gonna get into.
Now that's adrenaline. That's adrenaline getting him up out of there.
Yeah.
Forensics,
Yeah.
Matching him physically. Like
He's
I
in
said,
custody. They said his
like
father
that.
turned him in.
Also, you know,
Dang.
if you have a family member,
Hey, $100,000. You ain't got no friends.
or does the father own a
You
rifle?
have no friends.
I mean, come
You
on.
have no daddy.
Now, this is humanity.
This is humanity. But we're talking about $100,000 too. That's his daddy.
If it was a friend, then I agree with you on that right there.
His
But,
daddy's humanity, but
Yeah.
his friend or whoever.
yeah.
All that will be on searches on his computer and his hard drive.
I mean, you're a piece of shit, son. I'm sorry. I gotta go. You gotta go.
Other Confederates about just his disdain.
100K for the lawyers, hell, shit.
Evidence like that.
You're right. Not a friend or family member gives a fuck about you over that money.
The critical part
You're right.
is whether he made an admission to the father.
That's a damn shame, but you're right.
Which he made an admission to the deputy marshal
Oof.
that he's the person. I mean, that's critical evidence right there. And then they can lay on the forensics, fingerprints, DNA, the rifle if he owned it, or they can trace it now. They can back trace it to him. There may be photographs, family photographs of him with the rifle if he's gone hunting or something.
Sure.
Or maybe they can find out where he acquired it if he admits to acquiring it, and he may talk. You know,
I'm glad he didn't kill himself.
I'm glad he didn't kill himself
Because
too.
I mean, when something like this happens, I want to hear the story.
On the news,
Because you know they're going to sensationalize the hell out of the
They
story.
confronted him, and then they went to the deputy marshal.
What y'all think? Are they going to sensationalize this story?
Admitted it.
That's why I'm kind of glad he didn't kill himself so he can tell why he did it.
So
If he's really that bold.
you know,
Well, obviously he's bold. He killed somebody from a distance.
deputy United States
Sniper shot.
Sniper style.
Damn,
I
man.
asked you about the temperature. Or
You need to tell people where they can get the right footage
the
at.
threat level in the country.
Hey,
If you wanna see it.
I'm pretty sure y'all have seen the footage. If you haven't seen it, I seen the gunshot when he got knocked off on Willie D Live. So go check out Willie D Live or the Ghetto Boys. Shout out to Willie D, the OG, triple OG legend. The Ghetto Boys. I seen it live on his show when the dude actually got knocked off.
Well, the first and easiest thing we can do is the Attorney General and the President could release all the FBI and ATF agents that have been assigned to ICE for these many months. Release those guys back to their normal duties, because these are the two agencies that interrupt killers and shooters and bombers and snipers. That's their remit. That's their job. And a lot of them have been pulled off to do ICE duties, and now there's plenty of other agents out there to do ICE. They have the National Guard. They have all this other support from many other federal law enforcement agencies. So
Up to 193.
I feel like he's gonna get more than just a life sentence.
The president to reconsider those assignments. Put those agents back to what they do.
It was the manner of how he did it
And we need
is what's gonna kill him.
Secondly, as far as Congress and political leaders, look, you can't hold these outdoor events. Outdoor events are very risky because you gotta protect a wide area. An indoor event is much better, and then you can have security going into the event to protect from a handgun attack, because it's harder to bring a rifle into an event inside a building. And I would just say to all the political leaders in the country of every stripe, be very cautious too that tactics change from killers. They can go from being a sniper to being a bomber. And don't accept packages. Don't ever pick up or packages that are left on your doorstep or mailed to you or shipped to you, if you didn't order it and you don't know what it is, be very, very cautious of that. Have your events indoors. Put those FBI and ATF agents back on the job. And that's some small steps we can do.
All right, Jim Kavanaugh, Investigative Law Enforcement Analyst. Thank you so much. Great expertise on a morning of rapidly changing developments. I want to go to our Chief White House Correspondent, Peter Alexander, now for the latest on all of this. Clearly, we're getting new information at a pretty brisk clip here. We've heard from the president on Fox News. Peter, we know that there will be a press conference soon. Talk to me about what your sources are saying about where we are now in this investigation into the assassin of Charlie Kirk.
Well, Christine, you talk about the fluidity, the fast pace of developments this morning. Just to give you a little of the timeline, I spoke to a senior White House official at about 9:46, so about 15 minutes before that. Those comments by the president that they believe they have the person responsible for shooting Charlie Kirk in custody. And they asked this individual, again, 15 minutes earlier, whether they were satisfied with the pace of this investigation, with the FBI's handling of the case. And they said, satisfied is not the word. We won't be satisfied until they get this guy. Well, 15 minutes later, we learned that the president, in his words, says they have got this guy. So it looks like, at least from what I'm understanding from these conversations, that something might have happened very quickly. I think there was a lot of concern late yesterday after a series of delays over the course of the day about when a news conference would take place in Utah. Initially, we were told it was because of a series of rapid developments that had been taking place, that maybe they have the person then, but when the announcement was made, the Utah governor, the FBI,
Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely going federal.
and others made it very clear that they didn't have this person. As the individual on the ground there from the FBI told our Morgan Chesky, they had no idea who he was.
Trump just said that a minister turned him in.
Utah and frankly the neighboring states anxious about his status, where this individual was at this time. I know this is a major relief if this is in fact the person, and we should note the FBI on 2 earlier occasions, sorry, the sources are reaching out to me as I'm speaking to you, the FBI on 2 separate occasions said they, been the shooter. One time they said, we think we have.
I'll pause it because I didn't want to get no copyright commercials.
I think my hat's out here.
All right, guys, welcome to back to the neighborhood superstar, man. I'm back. I just had to take the wife to work, man. I appreciate you guys still tuning in, man. Yes, I do believe Jesus loves me. I definitely believe that. Let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back into it. Suspect caught. Suspect caught. Up.
Actually, we are having some technical difficulties reaching Morgan. We'll bring him back in shortly. Peter, I believe, I hope that you are still with us. If we could just go back to what we just saw there on Fox News. So the president announcing this again, we have now confirmed this. NBC News ourselves, Tom Winter, in touch with law enforcement sources, confirmed that same information. But a few key things there. Of course, the fact that there's a suspect in custody, and then what we've been discussing is the fact that it was somebody who actually identified based on that picture, based on the videos. It was pointed out to us earlier before, it could be something as simple as just a movement that the person makes, a tick in kind of the way that they move their neck, they walk, that type of thing, that could make someone aware, hey, I might know that person, the importance of getting these images and videos out to the public, Peter.
Yeah, well, I thought that was striking yesterday. Consider that they initially didn't put a photo out.
Right.
The FBI didn't, which at the moment they said that they didn't believe in the fact that they needed to do that just yet, which gave the indication to those people who were watching that they felt pretty good that they knew who this person was or knew where they were going to go to find them. Clearly something then changed where they put the photo out broadly, and then yesterday, after hours passed, they put out more video of him, as you saw, running across the roof and jumping off the side onto the grass where he disappeared into the woods and ultimately deposited his gun there, at least according to law enforcement. So it was obvious that law enforcement viewed an urgency in trying to keep information in the public eye, to give new details, new video, to maintain the sort of level of interest nationally in this situation here. I think one thing that's going to be interesting, I'm going to be curious to find out, is when they took this individual into custody, because as the president said, he just found out about it about 5 minutes before coming on the air. The news conference last night happened at about 10 p.m. Eastern time. So the presumption would be that it would have happened just before the president got on the air. But if it happened anywhere in the middle of the night or maybe even late last evening, I think a lot of people would be curious why that announcement did not come sooner and why they wouldn't say that to give some peace to those in those communities immediately afterwards. So I think that's just one thing to keep an eye on as we wait to learn more information from law enforcement. Our expectation is we will be hearing from them about 25 minutes or so from now. Another thing that was striking about the president's comments, candidly, as we talk about the sort of unique role this president plays in public life and discourse and frankly, all things across all platforms, it was remarkable to hear the president say, don't hold me to this, or I'm not certain. I can't say with total accuracy about this. We'll have to make sure it's all accurate. That's not normally the language that presidents use. Very rarely do presidents speculate about these situations or sort of, just float the best information that they believe. Usually it's based in fact so that none of it can be questioned, which was one of the issues, I think, initially yesterday when Kash Patel, the FBI director, had said, or maybe the day before, I can't keep track anymore, said that they believed they had the guy in custody and ultimately had to turn around and change that message. That's not the way law enforcement likes to work. They don't like to put out information that ultimately is debunked or wrong or misleads, because it undermines, what the president himself and others say is the credibility of these agencies, and all members of the Trump administration have insisted their job is to return credibility to some of these agencies that he has previously criticized.
Yeah, this is the third person of interest that the FBI that has identified. The first two.
Shout out to Lisa, man. Sorry for you being in this bad situation. She said she was there. She cried all night. I'm sure you did.
They think they have somebody in custody. Peter, thank you so much. Let's go back to Orem, Utah now. Morgan Chesky is there. Morgan, in the past hour
Lisa, what was the environment like once all this was going on?
Well, the campus.
Let us know how the environment was actually in real time when you was there.
Pouring over this scene, really just moments after that gunshot, that one gunshot was fired, killing.
We got 235 people watching this right now, y'all.
That has been felt in this Orem community since the assassination of Kirk took place. A student that I spoke to was not at the event. He was at the library, but he still heard the shot, and then he saw essentially what he described as a sea of students running away. And I think there's been two competing emotions here, and one has been just sadness as a result of what took place, but the other has absolutely been apprehension, because every hour that's gone by, every day that's gone by, with this gunman at large.
Lisa, give us the rundown on what you experienced there.
And so to hear the president in this interview today say that he has a high degree of certainty that law enforcement has the right individual now in custody is certainly reassuring to this community.
I actually live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee,
You know, not the
and
small school, but
he was actually supposed to come to this big mega church that we have here in Murfreesboro called World Outreach. He was supposed to be here within next week, I believe.
So in this building not far behind me, hopefully there is even more clarity that can put many of these questions to rest, because like Peter mentioned, and like we've been hearing this morning, really authorities have been very careful in what they've released. And what I'm gathering from that now is that they really didn't know much about this individual, and that is why that, coupled with what the president has said, in that someone recognized the person from one of those images, from one of those videos.
Absolutely. Morgan, forgive me while I interrupt you just quickly, because we actually do have some breaking news on the suspect. We'll come right back to you, Morgan. Let's go to NBC's Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell, who has some breaking information for us. Hi, Kelly.
Good morning. We now have more information about this suspect. We have a name to tell you, and this is according to multiple sources and our team of reporters covering federal law enforcement. Tom Winter, Mike Cosner, our colleagues. Tyler Robinson is the suspect in custody. He is from Utah. He's in custody with state authorities in Utah, born in 2003. And so Tyler Robinson is the name that, according to multiple sources, is the suspect who is in custody. From our reporting, we understand he has been in custody for a number of hours now. And what happens with that, as Morgan was just saying, there was a point where authorities knew very little about who this person was. Well, once you have an individual identified, many new doors open. Tyler Robinson will now be subject to having all of his electronics reviewed, subject to a search warrant, and that would be the typical process now, that once he's identified and in custody, authorities are able to get the court permission to execute search warrants. That could be places where he lives, seizing any phones, digital footprint, any of those things. Also checking the records for the purchase of the weapon that was used here. Can they tie that weapon to him? All of those avenues are now open to federal authorities. This is a state crime, not a federal crime on its face, meaning a murder is a state crime. They would be looking for any avenues that allow them to find some kind of federal charge, if there is one that's applicable and appropriate, to add to this case with the joint work of federal authorities and state authorities. Tyler Robinson is the suspect, according to our sources. I would expect that they will use this upcoming news conference to relay that information and to lay out some of what we have learned. What's so critical here, if you look at the sweep of perspective on big cases like this, it is not unusual to have a family member or close associate who ultimately notifies authorities. There have been other cases. One of the most significant was the Ted Kaczynski case, the Unabomber, years ago, where his brother recognized the writings that had been made public and knew many of the clues that only a close family member would know. In a case like this, we are told that it is a close associate. The president referred to a family member. The president talked about father. And it's our understanding that when you have that kind of close association, those grainy photos and then the improved photos in the second batch, those become much more compelling to someone who actually knows the individual. If you're a stranger on the street and you're walking down the street and you see this person walking, you might not recognize them, but someone who knows them and loves them is much better able to. They might know the clothing. They might know the angle of the face. They might know the movement of the gait. They might know something about activities like this person, as seen in video, the suspect as seen in video, seemed quite comfortable descending off a roof. Most of us would be a little daunted by that, even a young guy in their 20s. That's quite a drop. Maybe he has hobbies or interests that prepare him for that. Maybe he's an athlete. Those kinds of things can tip off a family member. The important new development now is learning more about who is Tyler Robinson, what is his story. We know that he is from the state of Utah, so this is not this is not a case yet that we know of crossing any state lines. That would also make it federal. Not in this instance as of yet. But the investigation really now is just beginning. A manhunt ending certainly puts many minds in the community at ease, but certainly officials want to be cautious. So many major shooting incidents in this country end with the suspect taking their own life or ending in a gun battle that ends their life. This is a case that will likely go to trial or go to a plea agreement and so forth. So care about the investigation is truly critical. Every detail, every use of his rights and careful use of putting out information. That's where it will get difficult in terms of finding out more until we get this press conference where officials will be prepared to share what they know. But at this point, it is certainly ending the manhunt and now expanding an investigative phase to look into every dimension of the life of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson of Utah.
Right, Kelly, thank you so much for that. And again, if you're just tuning in here, the president first announcing about an hour ago that a suspect is in custody. Our sources at NBC News have confirmed this. Our sources telling us they've even named this 22-year-old suspect from Utah as Tyler Robinson. That's right. We're going to bring in retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico to talk about what this now means for the investigation moving forward.
Shout out to my wife, Cheryl Finkley. You need to change that fucking last name. We just got married.
A lot of avenues for law enforcement to work with to further their understanding of what happened here, to gain information about this person. Tell us now that a suspect has been named, what this means for the investigation, how it will unfold.
Yeah, it's going to explode now because, as Kelly said, now you have a bunch of electronics. One, you have to get the search warrant for everything. You don't want to do anything that's not going to be able to stand up in court. Since he's in custody, you're not as worried about safety if you think that he's a sole actor in this. And you're going to take.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you. Please like, subscribe to the Neighborhood Superstar
The information you get, the results you get from the
podcast
is in fact going to stay up in court. Right now, I hear the FBI is gearing up for a physical search warrant somewhere in southern Utah. So they're identifying.
Trump knows who sent that guy. Hey, I love a good conspiracy.
And they're going to send teams in very meticulously looking for electronics. Anything.
Trump do got mob ties.
They also now have his electronics. So a phone nowadays and the days and the digital exhaust that comes from it are incredible. They'll be able to get the search warrant for that phone. You want to keep it intact. Now with encrypted messaging and everything else, sometimes the only way you can do that is having one of the devices that's unlocked for you. So they'll get a search warrant. If he does not agree to give the password or something, it'll probably be sent back to Quantico, who can unlock even iPhones back there in order to get in there, because you want to preserve those encrypted apps where it's point-to-point encryption and you have to have one of the devices. So all that's going to go back to Quantico. They're going to fly those in jets in the FBI G5. They want to get them back as soon as you can. I've done that with hard drives from overseas, flying them back straight to the lab because you want to get those folks.
Legato, why should we free Tyler?
If he decides that he would.
Why do you think we should free him?
Because you want all this information to be in the hands of the people that are interviewing them to be able to talk about things. Everyone's going to want motivation, though it's not as important in the state murder case as far as the elements of the crime. It is important if it goes to a jury. A jury always wants to hear that story, why someone did something that they can't understand, but everyone else wants to know the motivation. But it's not as important unless you're now looking at like a hate crime or some type of add-on.
That's a great point, Cal. That's a great point.
To go federal. But they're talking about that now. You have the local DA and the federal prosecutors discussing this again because you want to keep that evidence really tight.
That's a great point.
Either state court or federal court.
Rob D'Amico, thank you so much. Let's go to Aaron Gilchrist. He is at the location where this press conference is going to happen in Utah. Hey there, Aaron. What are you hearing, as we prepare to get more details from officials about this arrest?
We've had in the room here a few times, we've had announcements about the timing of this briefing being pushed a little bit, which is not unusual in an instance like this. Often it is the case that officials are trying to cross their T's and dot their I's before they come out in front of the public and release information, particularly when it involves a suspect in a crime like this. We know that there have been at least a couple of instances throughout the course of this investigation where people have been taken into custody. There were 2 instances in the hours after the shooting here on campus where those people's names sort of got out there, and there was reporting that and postings on social media from officials that a suspect had been taken.
Legato, I ask you, why should they free Tyler?
Men who were taken into custody and questioned and then released. We were told by officials here yesterday that those people had to endure threats because their names were out there. And they were not the people responsible for the crime here. And so I think that could likely be a driver in wanting to make sure that all the details here are as salient as possible before officials come out here.
Got 212 in the building right now with 19 likes. Let's hit those likes button. Let's hit that like button, y'all. Make sure y'all subscribe.
And the special agent in charge of the field office in Salt Lake City. The FBI and obviously the state, as well as local officials, have been working together, to our understanding, on this investigation. The FBI and state law enforcement agency leading the investigation, if you will. But I can tell you, just in the time that we've been here on campus.
Appreciate you, Victoria Bain.
That is one of the buildings.
Appreciate you. Please like and subscribe.
Amphitheater where the shooting happened on Wednesday. And in the time that we've been here, there's been a constant presence of law enforcement. Obviously, there were investigators on the crime scene in that amphitheater.
Watching from northern BC, Canada. Shout out to Canada. I've been to Canada before. I'm a Navy man. I went to Victoria.
Investigators who were on that rooftop where the shooter fired that rifle from through a portion of the day.
It won't let you say what you're trying to say. Okay, Legato.
What they believe to be the weapon, a high-powered bolt-action rifle, is what was described to us. At the same time, they were able to recover some impressions.
Well, let me ask you this question, Legato. Do you think he was a good guy or a bad guy?
That was released here by officials late last night. Obviously, you see now the
Was Charlie a good guy or bad guy, Legato?
But you also saw him walking across that rooftop at one point, leaving foot impressions to the extent that officials were able to tell that they were Converse sneakers that were being worn by the individual who was on that rooftop. And then you see him sort of lean down, carrying something, looks like maybe a bag, lean down to climb off that roof before sort of dropping to the ground there and running across that field.
Kyle Collins, man, I said the same exact thing. I said the same exact thing, man.
You see the individual running across
when that dude, I said the same exact thing, bro. When that old man was tackled, I said, damn, they got him quick. And then I started thinking, I said, you know what? I think that might be a diversion. But let me ask y'all this question. Like I said, I don't know this guy. Do y'all think this got something kind of like some Martin Luther King, JFK, RFK type thing going on? I mean, especially President Kennedy and Martin Luther King on the sniper side of the game. Those guys was hit from a long distance away. Does it kind of seem the same thing? Y'all let me know, man.
Start to piece together a person of interest. That is the photo that you see here on your screen now. We were told this was a person of interest. The head of the Department of Public Safety here in Utah told our Morgan Chesky yesterday that while they were calling this a person of interest, he felt fairly comfortable that there was a high degree of certainty that the person in these photos was their suspect. And now it seems as though these images being out there may have been the key to someone saying, I know this guy, and according to the sources that our team has been able to speak to turn him in. Ladies?
All right, Aaron Gilchrist there. I know you're waiting for that press conference to start, and you will alert us when we have new information. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, stay standing by for us. Let's go back to NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky. He's also on the ground in Utah. And Morgan, as Aaron just laid out, I mean, this has been quite an extensive ordeal for this community, right? I mean, the suspect running through a nearby neighborhood in custody. Tell us what this community has been going through.
Yeah, it's certainly been a struggle, and I think some important context here is just how this Charlie Kirk event played out here in the community, here on campus. Students tell me that whether they agreed with Kirk's policies or politics or not, really everyone was aware that this event was going to be taking place on campus and that UVU was
We reached
going to
our
be the start of
we got
Kirk's
208 people checking us out right now, y'all.
and that
33
a total
likes.
of about 3,000 students and
Broke a new
people
record, 208 people.
who arrived here to hear Kirk speak on that.
Kurt was a good guy. He spoke to the strong and the weak. Treated them both with respect.
That accessing the event itself, there was little to no security. There were no metal detectors. There were no bag checks.
Master Jeep said Kurt treated my ancestors like trash.
Hear him speak or see him debate.
Like I said, y'all, I don't know who this guy is. Never heard of him. Master Jeep, tell me how he treated your ancestors like trash, bro.
He acknowledged that accessibility is certainly.
Tell us how he did that.
Going forward, because even the rooftop.
MLK wasn't preaching hate like Kurt.
He said,
okay.
Easily accessed. I said, as if the doors there were unlocked. He says, no, there's not even doors. There are walkways that parallel the roof that allow someone to simply hop over and gain access. That's how easy it was for this individual that authorities now believe is Tyler Robinson to make their way to that position where they believe the alleged gunman fired that one single shot. Now, in the meantime, the witnesses that I've spoken to, just hearing their gut-wrenching details of that moment, it's rough because there were so many people within just mere feet of Kirk when he was shot that while this has been a targeted attack, hindsight, of course, is something that we've learned since then. But they all thought that there were going to be more shots fired. And a father of two named Brandon I spoke to yesterday said when he heard the shot and saw Kirk struck, he hit the ground and he thought that he might be next because he was in a completely exposed position. He grabbed the friend that he was with, and then in his other hand, he texted his wife, "There's a shooter. I love you." And he was not the only one to have that sentiment because of simply, the times that we live in when we do cover these mass shootings. I think this has all been a cumulative toll on this school, on this community. Of course, we were approaching that 48 hours with the gunman still at large. Hopefully, what the president said this morning is true, and that he says there was a high degree of certainty that law enforcement does, in fact, have their man. And according to our team's reporting, that individual that's now in custody, Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from Utah, that in and of itself provides so much more insight than what we knew just an hour ago, particularly yesterday even when the DPS commissioner for Utah told me they didn't know if this person was in Utah or had fled the state entirely. So again, this press conference is going to be absolutely critical in providing some much-needed clarity on a case that has had significantly more questions than answers so far, guys.
All right, Morgan Tresky, please continue standing by as we await news from this press conference, and thank you for your reporting on the ground there. Let's go back to retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico for more on what investigators are doing right now and just the manhunt of the past couple of days. Rob, I'm curious, we saw these pictures, some video of the suspect. It took 2 days to find him. Is that unusual in your,
Shout out to the Neighborhood Superstar Podcast. We just reached a new limit. 221 checking us out right now.
In a cap and a t-shirt and sunglasses, was able to carry
46 likes
and then slip away. I mean, is that sort of an FBI agent's worst nightmare?
It is. I mean, when you look at it, he's 22 years old. He's fairly young, and he carried out a very well-planned assassination of a very public figure in the middle of a university, and got away for a couple of days. So I think it's normal now with technology and everything that we have out there that these people will be caught in a matter. If they're not caught on the scene trying to flee and someone sees it and enough law enforcement's there to make an arrest, I think it takes a couple days. And it's to the point where it's almost standard that we saw in the healthcare CEO assassination, where you have an incident and then you start getting the camera footage and then you start seeing if you can ID them without going to public, but a lot of times you can't. And then you go to the public's help. And as soon as it goes to the public's, depending on how good the photos are, you start getting these phone calls. And in this one, like I said, the photos weren't great facial photos, but as you know, family members, I remember my wife could recognize me at 100 yards away just by the way I walked. If she saw a video of me, she'd be like, yeah, that's him. I just can't imagine when you're looking at something like that. I have 4 children and figuring out it's one of your children that has done something like this, and then having the law enforcement to turn in your own child. And it is going to be, and this is not like it's going to be a small thing, but you know, they did what was right, and I think it ended something that in this area I didn't see it as a threat. As you talked about, it was one shot and it ended. There was no multiple shots fired into the crowd or anything. So I think the police did understand that this was a targeted assassination. But what you also don't want, though, is if you corner somebody, if his picture got out and people recognized him and they knew where he was at, you don't want someone to take it into their own hands. You don't want that person to be in a barricade situation where law enforcement has to do it. So the family member turned him in. I would be surprised, like, he just went home. Where was he actually arrested at? That's really what I want to know. Did he tell his parents he was on a camping trip and was out in the woods, or was he in a hotel, or did he in fact go back home and was living in a house that he normally lived in and didn't realize that someone was going to call away and police were going to call. And then it happened in the middle of the night, which is good. I think an arrest in the middle of the night is really the best way to do it. You don't have as much public out there. When you do an arrest like that, it's very isolated. If you can get the person in that location, depending on how it's done, and then again, the safety of the public is always what you're thinking about when you do arrests like this. So it's developing to the point now. You have multiple teams working on different stuff now. I have a source saying that, okay, they're getting ready to do physical search warrants. So they're identifying everywhere he's lived in the last probably year. Even if he was staying with a friend, if he was living somewhere temporarily, all those are going to be identified. You're going to write out search warrants for every one of those. A team's going to go to each site, and then you have a team getting ready. If he's in fact talking, there's a team supplying information to the people interviewing him, and then there's a team now starting to look at all his social media. Those search warrants are going in for his social media, his emails, and all that. As you identify them, you're interviewing his family members. You're talking to them to get timelines, to get friends, to get all other names of people that you're going to talk to, because now that as I said, the investigation is exploding to the point where you have people to talk to, electronics to look at. You may have to get his physical phone. You may have to fly that back to Quantico to unlock if he doesn't give you the code. All those are going in. You have the
John Doe, that's the heartbreaking part about all this right here. He had a 1-year-old son, 5-year-old daughter. She was 50 feet away when he got shot. That's crazy.
It's going to be valid if you have to put it in front of a jury or a judge.
Rob, quickly, can I ask you some of those details that you just laid out there? Questions like, where was he when he was arrested? Did he go home? What other information we have that law enforcement may already have, right? Like the motive most likely has not been identified at this point. Maybe some of that information that's still going to come from searching his digital exhaust, that term that you keep using, or searching the home. But some of that information that they do already have, how much of that do you think we'll hear in this update?
I don't know if you're going to hear a bunch of that. I think you're going to hear the.
You know what, guys? I got a question for y'all. I got a question for everybody in the chat. I was watching one of my favorite podcasters, Anton Daniels. Shout out to Anton Daniels After Hours last night. He brought up this question about do you think in the future Charlie Kirk would have ran for president of the United States? What y'all think, chat room? It seems to me that a lot of you guys really know this guy because, like I said, I don't know who he was. What y'all think about one of my favorite podcasters saying that he possibly would have ran for president in the future? What y'all think about that?
Places that you may want to start looking at. If he'd stayed at a motel on route back to the house the one night, you were going to see the results of that cellular data telling you where he's been if the phone was with him. So I think that was probably one of the most important things after they ID'd him was to get his actual phone number so they can start running those cellular data requests.
All right, Rob D'Amico, thank you so much. I mean, giving us just so much insight in what we expect is happening right now and happening in the hours ahead. Let's go back to the President of the United States. It was about an hour and a half ago where this news broke on the set of Fox and Friends, a television show on Fox News, where the president revealed that they had a suspect in custody.
Essentially, somebody that was very close to him.
It's whatever. Laughing my ass out. Only reason why Neighborhood Superstar is on this dude's side is because his views are up. Well, I'm excited that my views are up.
Minutes before I walked in, a father got involved, namely his father.
I'm excited that my views are up. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't going to be the one that says that build up an opinion of a person that I've never heard of and never seen. I never heard or never seen this guy. I'm enjoying the fact that you guys are checking me out. Please do. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. But I can't say that I'm feeling this way because I got my views. My views is piping or hyped up. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that. I just don't want to form an opinion on based off what somebody else said. I want to get to know this guy myself. I'm going to go and watch a couple of his interviews, and then I'll form an opinion of him. I'm a human, compassionate person, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody to lose their life over no bull job, especially, I'm a military vet. I'm a Navy veteran. One of the reasons why I joined the military is for people to have freedom of speech. Not hate speech, freedom of speech. Like I said, I don't know if this guy was sparing hate or not. I'm going to find out later. But I appreciate your comment, though, bro. Please like, subscribe.
From our reporting and sources, we know the suspect's been in custody for a number of hours, which suggests to me there was not a knock on the door in the middle of the night at Trump Tower to alert the president that there was a suspect in custody. We'll report that out to see what happens. But he described it as something he had just learned. The suspect himself is described as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, a resident of Utah. As we understand,
it's whatever. Put the video of him talking about black people. Stay tuned. I'll do that. I'll do that. Please like and subscribe, and then we'll check that. I'll check that out. I'll check that out next.
Those are key elements of this because we are told that there was, and the president also affirmed this, that there was a connection made by someone close to the person of interest here, and that allowed them to have this breakthrough. Now, what happens next? All the investigative channels open up. There will be a search of any of his electronics. They will look for things that could connect him for any motivations, any conduct. For example, what would tie him to this crime? He would look for things like Charlie Kirk's events are published well in advance. He had a plan for a multi-city tour of college campuses. Was there any interest shown by the suspect in identifying information about where Charlie Kirk was going to be? Are there any links to him? Is there any history of communicating about Charlie Kirk as a public figure, political ideology, all of that? We don't know any motive at this point. We don't know the specifics about gun ownership. That is an avenue.
They don't have a motive. What y'all think the motive is? What is the motive, chat room? What y'all think the motive is? One thing I am surprised, I want to reply back to that person that asked me that question. One thing I am surprised of. One thing I am surprised of is that I got a small little podcast that's obviously doing well today. This is the best I've ever done on it. Never once would I would have thought that all this back and forth would be on my show. You know what I'm saying? All the hate speech and stuff like that. People are talking bad about this dude. I don't know whether he deserves it or not. But even in my chat room, people talking down on this dude right here.
A suspect
even on my little small little platform. So the hate is real. I see. The hate is definitely real about this on this dude. I really can't wait to check this dude out, man.
Or is killed in a gun battle or those kinds of things. A living suspect means there's an enormous amount of pressure on authorities at the state, local, and federal level to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. The suspect has rights and needs a defense.
See, Sly Slick and Wicked, he said blacks are animals. See,
that would go on now. Expect search warrants.
that's why I have to go back and watch. That's why I have to go back and watch this dude, because I can't fuck with no fucking body that said that black folks are animals. I can't fucking be down with nobody like that. But one thing I'm not gonna do is let somebody tell me something to get me all riled up, and now I don't like this dude. And I never heard of. I'm just going by what somebody else said. So I'm gonna go and do my research on this stuff right here, man.
Into their custody, held by state officials in Utah. At this point, there is no apparent federal crime involved. Murder is a state offense, and until they have more investigative tools that allow them to expand any potential charges, we're not even at the charging point now. This is a person held in custody, being detained. The potential for interrogation, if interrogation is even possible, he could invoke his Fifth Amendment rights if he were to so choose to do that. So lots of questions, but many new avenues opening up. But as the president described it, someone close to Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old Utah resident, was key to breaking this case. Savannah, Christine?
Thank you so much, Kelly, for all of that excellent information as we wait for this press conference to begin. Stay with us and bring us anything else new you have. I want to bring in NBC News correspondent Aaron Gilchrist. We've been showing you in the corner of your screen right now that FBI update coming soon. Aaron is in that room awaiting that update. Aaron, as Kelly just laid out, there's of course so many questions, but some that could potentially be answered in the short term by authorities here. The level of confidence for one of them, as Kelly pointed out, that this is the guy they were looking for, how he was taken into custody, what the details were of what happened overnight, and what they're doing to push this forward, what search warrants are being executed. What are you listening for in this update coming from the FBI shortly?
Yeah, I think you've laid out exactly the sorts of things that people are curious about at this point. I will say that this briefing was originally scheduled for 9 a.m. Eastern. That was then pushed back to about 9:30. Here it is now on the East Coast, 9:42, and it has not begun yet. We were told by someone who came into the room, the law enforcement official came into the room to tell us that they were being delayed. He wasn't sure when this briefing is going to start. And as Kelly alluded to, I think a lot of that may be related to making sure that there is clear messaging that can be communicated.
Slide 6 said,
about what transpired.
dude said it's okay for people to die from gun violence. Well, look at him. That is crazy.
Law enforcement officials here, and so in between then and the president making his statement somewhere in the
That is crazy though.
Time this morning, this person came into police custody, as Kelly told us from law enforcement sources that she's been able to talk to, as well as others on our team. There was someone who saw some of the images, whether it was the video or the photos that were released, saw some of those images and was able to say, I know this guy, and then turn him in is what it seems to be the case at this point. And so the questions we have, were law enforcement officials at that point able to get any sort of statement from him? Has he been talking? Or, as Kelly referenced, did he invoke his Fifth Amendment right not to say anything? And so that's something that we're going to be looking to get an answer to once the briefing does start here. I would expect, as is typically the case, that law enforcement will say there are a lot of things they can't talk about at this point in the process because there is a prosecution to come, and they won't want to reveal much more than what they can, and if it may impact adversely the prosecution that is to come. But I do think that so much of the imagery that we've seen up until this point and the information that we have about someone being in custody up until this point is something that is helpful for this community. This is Utah Valley University is the largest, according to its website, in the state of Utah. There's a 40,000 plus population that attends this university. We know there were 3,000 people in that courtyard listening to Charlie Kirk when that shot was fired from the rooftop behind the crowd as they were sitting in this amphitheater, sort of a
bowl, as it was described to me, and we have been able to see it. Those folks obviously went home traumatized, and there was a bit of fear in the community about the fact that this person was still out there, despite the fact that law enforcement officials have said that they believe this was a targeted attack, that Charlie Kirk was the only person.
It's whatever I want. I agree with you, bro.
The community
This
knew
was
that
strategic,
the suspect
100%.
was
I agree
still
with
out
you.
there. And I can tell you, being here on campus, in this building that is just adjacent to where the shooting happened, when you walked around, you could see that there were strollers that had been left behind. There were scooters that had been left behind. We were able to go into a classroom in this building. We're in the science building where the briefing is going to be happening. We were able to go into a classroom on the ground floor here, on the lowest level of the building, and see where students had barricaded themselves in a classroom. They pushed tables up against the door, tried to tie the door shut in some cases. There was one classroom where we saw people had left backpacks and notebooks and cell phones and tablets. And I think that speaks to the level of fear that exists here when students in those classrooms thought that there was an active shooter, someone with a gun on the scene here. And so the announcement that we expect to get from law enforcement this morning that someone has been arrested, it is the person that they believe is responsible for the shooting, will come, I think, Christine and Savannah, as a relief to some of the people who are students here and who live in the broader
Timothy, I appreciate you checking out the Neighborhood Superstar Podcast. I appreciate your comments, and I definitely hope you like and subscribe. Can you tell me in your own words why it appears to me that you are a fan of Charlie? Can you tell me why?
Investigation and just this breaking news of the morning of a suspect in custody. I want to go back to retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico.
Appreciate you, bro.
Really curious, Rob, about.
Can you tell me why you are you a fan of Curtis? I mean, I don't know why I keep saying Curtis. Are you a fan of Charlie?
From the scene after the event, and we see these pictures and some of this video of him. How did he get it on the roof and get off the? I mean, talk to me about the firearm and the fact the suspect apparently was walking around Central Campus with a gun in this big event. Yeah, what does it tell you about the weapon?
So I'm looking at the video that we saw of him in the neighborhood beforehand, where he had a slight limp, because the videos that they put out, they released yesterday from the ones that you're showing now.
Yeah.
I don't know where that weapon would be,
Right.
because that backpack is too close to, it's too small to hold that weapon. I mean, you have some very high-tech weapons that can be folded down and such, but you're looking at thousands of dollars for those type of guns. This one, I'm trying to figure out if he had it down his back and part of the rifle was down his leg, and that's why he was limping. The still photos don't show him like that. I'm trying to look at how his legs bend. I myself haven't been a sniper, practiced on getting sniper rifles into hotel rooms and other places covertly, and it's tough because they're so long. So I'm trying to look at these photos of him walking up to the roof, and I don't see it. I don't really see him walking or having a statue that would suggest that, which may indicate he may have put that rifle on the roof a couple days prior, a day prior, knowing that he was going to go up there and have to walk through a big crowd to get there, and didn't want that rifle to be noticed. So that's
a good one.
I'm starting to think he may have done. And again, they may have video.
So did the gunman store the weapon up there on the building prior to the shooting? That's what he just said.
And then he leaves with it. It looks like it's covered in some type of towel or some type of device that's covering that rifle. He even jumps off the roof with it, which again is not that easy. And then for some reason he discards it in the woods. I think maybe at that point, whatever he was going through on his escape plan, thought having that rifle, even if it was covered, would be a hindrance to him getting away without someone spotting him. And he may have looked at a location. He may have known that that rifle was going to be recovered. And at that point, he may have wiped it down, trying to take his fingerprints and DNA off that before he left it. Because again, this was a well-planned assassination, even for a 22-year-old, when you look at it, that he did this, he got away, even if for a couple days. So he may have known enough that you watch CSI, you know, kind of what fingerprints and DNA can do. He may have wiped that rifle down and then left it in the woods, knowing that the police would eventually recover it. But you can still get it. A lot of times we talked about earlier, even if he wiped but I think it was magazine fed, which meant it had a magazine of maybe 5 rounds, and in order to strip each round off the magazine, you have to action the bolt. Did he wipe the rounds down? Because when you load a magazine like that, you handle the round and you put it in. And there's many times that we get thumbprints or fingerprints off of small devices that the criminals don't think of. I remember in Iraq, they had recovered a rear view mirror that had the subject's thumbprint because he adjusted the rear view mirror. The vehicle exploded. They recovered the rear view mirror and found one thumbprint. And when we captured him about 3 years later, we ID'd him that way. So again, he may have touched other things in that rifle he may not know to wipe down. And that's what they're looking for, all those small things. With today's, again, the ability to get to watch TV and CSI and all these other things, you really understand how things are done, but criminals still make mistakes. And him being young, I think, again, that shows a point where he may not have been this well-trained person. He may have seen enough, known enough to do it, but now when the federal authorities come in, you have investigators and you have people that have done this for decades that are just going to really kind of tear things apart.
Rob, of course, the number one question has been who did this, and now that we seemingly have an answer to that, we potentially have an answer to that with someone in custody. I think the question pretty quickly on people's minds is why does someone do this? Walk us through the investigation into a motive, how the term that you've used, I've never heard of before. I think it's a good one, his digital exhaust. What that does in terms of searching for a motive, the people who were close to him, who called in and ultimately turned him in, how they could play into that. What's an investigation into motive look like?
Motive's going to be talking to people around him, maybe not parents, not children don't tell their parents everything, as we all know. But he has friends, and maybe the friends weren't part of this, but he talked about it, and he had certain opinions and views. He may have gone to groups. All those interviews that they're going to do, every time you talk to someone, you're like, well, who else can I talk to that may know something? And they'll give you a name, and then you start going down that road. And then the same thing on the electronic side, where you get a hold of his email. And it may not be something in the email, but you know how you have to verify your email to join certain groups and Reddit and all these other things. And you see an email from, say, Reddit, and then you have a username on Reddit, and then you do a search warrant for Reddit, and you openly search Reddit for that username, and you start seeing things that he posted, kind of what he thought maybe anonymously, that start coming back to that Reddit post. And then on Reddit, you find out he referenced something else, or then you find another email verifying that he downloaded an app. If you had an Apple iPhone, you're going to look at all the chat or all the applications he downloaded, and he maybe had Discord, he might have had Telegram and all these other things. So again, when you're looking at this physical search of the phone, some of those only can be done when you have the device. And that's why it's going to be key that they get the device, they put it in a Faraday bag so that no electronics can go in or out of that phone. There's some people that are very technical that have it where they can remotely delete things off a phone, but it still has to have connection to a cellular or Bluetooth. So you put it in a Faraday bag so no electronics can get to that device, and then you fly it back to FBI lab in Quantico. And again, I've delivered hard drives that we've gotten overseas, going blue lights and sirens up 95 from Fort Bragg with a hard drive that was recovered, say, in Syria, to get it to the lab, to get those folks, because they're literally waiting for it, and they have a team that is going to now start to crack all those devices. Same thing with search warrants. So you're on his computer and you're looking at his Google search history. You're looking at what IP is in the house. Did he have VPNs that would maybe mask an IP? All those are going into the cyber side of things and how they know to look at it. And again, the federal authorities have unbelievable cyber investigators where you just can't hide what you think you can hide. Again, you may think you're anonymous on Telegram or Discord or Reddit. You're not. Your IP and all the other identifying things with that are there are going to come together. And it's a combination of the search warrants, getting emails and phone numbers, because again, as you know, you join something and you have to verify your phone number through a code or something like that. That may be in the text searches, and that gives you a clue that he got something that you don't understand that you're going to wind down. And then maybe he was things on the dark web. Maybe he's in discussion groups there. Again, they're going to start looking all that when they start getting the physical electronics. And again, maybe he had an Apple iWatch. And again, you don't really even understand what's happening in that. That you could actually go back on that watch and look at his heart rate when he was taking that shot. If he has an
That's
Apple
amazing.
iWatch or some
That's
other
amazing.
device.
Rob, well, just quickly, we don't know if he had any accomplices or there was a bigger conspiracy. We just don't know any of that yet. And it's clearly, I would never speculate. But the idea of the lone wolf in your line of work in the FBI, how concerned are you about people who are radicalized by what they're reading online and they decide they take matters in their own hands on a political matter?
Oh, it's an absolutely huge problem. And we saw that before, after, again, 9/11, it was a group of folks. And then ISIS, though, really started propagating hey, do this alone. They would get radicalized in these chat groups at night, in their, as the former director said, in their basement at night, looking at these chat groups, get radicalized. And ISIS knew when groups talk about things, that's how it gets discovered, and the threat gets discovered, and you start getting in front of it. But if it's just in one person's head, if they're reading these things and they're thinking about it and they want to do it, and it's all just in their head and they're not communicating it to anyone, it's really hard to get in front of and prevent. You may be able to tie things back as we look at it now after the fact, who we talk to, and you can pinpoint this month he really started getting angry at Mr. Kirk because he saw this video, and I remember him talking about how angry he got.
You're a wild boy, it's whatever. You wild.
That brought him down to commit a violent act like this, but it still was in his head and he wasn't communicating it to anyone. So all those are really troublesome in there. And when you have lone actors getting self-radicalized and not communicating a threat to anyone, I would, though, the one thing that's come up in my mind, and I don't want to put suspicion on anyone, but we kept hearing how he was about to talk about mass shootings when he was shot. And people have said that. And when you look at people that are doing things for the event itself, that to me was like, wait a second, he was talking about mass shootings and he got shot. And we heard from your witnesses on the news that he was talking for 10 minutes beforehand before he was shot, sitting in the exact same location. So to me, I'm now thinking, okay, why did he take that shot at that moment? Was something coordinated? Because it was odd that question was just asked. He made one comment about the question and then was shot. Not that I'm saying that there was a co-conspirator, but I would want to talk to the person who asked that question, and then I would look at it electronically. That is there any
Did y'all hear that?
connection to the shooter now that we know who the shooter is with the person that asked the question? It may be.
So they're trying to say that someone asked a question.
Knew he was going to be asked questions like that because he's seen other videos where they talk about mass shootings, and that he wanted to time it so that as soon as he started talking about it, that's when he took the shot. Because now I'm looking at, again, the shooter had 10 minutes beforehand of him sitting in one location and talking about things. And I think he was sitting and wasn't standing. It may have been he was standing before talking about something for 10 minutes and then sat down to take this question. But you want to start to really understand the timing of that shot, why it was taken then. Was it something in his mind that he knew he was going to talk about, or was it the question that he knew was coming? So all those things are going through my mind as an investigator.
That's crazy.
Wanting to discuss, and you
That's actually mind blowing right there.
Say, no, the person out of that question has no connection to the shooter. It just was a coincidence, or the shooter knew that question was going to be asked.
Yeah, and we don't even know if he could actually hear what was being said on the stage from that far away.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
The system was like, if we just don't know. That investigation clearly will show that. It's interesting to me too. You wonder how long he was up there before he took that shot. And I am not a expert marksman, but tell me, is that a difficult shot to take? Yeah, Rob, we just have about a minute or less here, but tell us
So
exactly
as a
what you were looking
sniper,
for there.
Yeah, as a sniper, it's not a difficult shot. When you're talking about 1,000 yards into a person, and I know people who SEALs and Special Forces guys who's taking it at shots at a mile into a person. Those are difficult shots. 175-yard shot isn't difficult. It's a hunter type of a shot that they're used to. But again, shooting a human is not easy too. When you put a person in your scope, there may have been some difficulties on the angle, and the fact that there was a tent there that may have thrown his shot off some, but it was still a fatal shot.
Thank you, Rob. Your analysis has been so helpful this morning. We are about to join an NBC News special report as we get an FBI update on the latest of the suspect in custody.
Wow. Wow.
Following breaking news in the assassination.
This is all day.
Influential conservative activist Charlie Kirk, NBC News sources confirming a suspect is now in custody. He's been identified as Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old man from Utah.
All of this follows a massive manhunt in the wake of Wednesday's shooting in Utah. It also follows the FBI's overnight release of new images and videos of a person of interest.
In a moment, we're going to take you to Utah. Officials are about to hold a news conference. We expect to learn more about the circumstances under which this suspect was identified and brought into custody. Let's go to NBC's Morgan Chesky, and actually it was the president himself across the street here in New York.
Punisher, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. I heard them say they found the gun in the wooded area, but he did not jump. He did not jump off that building with a gun, and that gun was too big to fit in that damn book bag. That's a good one right there, bro.
Person who fired the fatal shot, killing Charlie Kirk here on the campus of Utah Valley University. Since then, though, we have learned more details, as you mentioned, Savannah. He's been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson of Utah, and that correlates with what we heard from law enforcement yesterday, saying that this person of interest that they shared both images of and video of appeared to be a college-aged male. That pairs with the fact that Robinson is 22 years old. According to the president, Savannah and Craig, we're also hearing that it was someone very close to Robinson who recognized him from either the images or the video and then contacted law enforcement, and that began the process of bringing him into custody. We're hoping to hear...
I can't see no gun in his hand when he jumped out the building.
Exactly, that all went down here in this press conference that should begin any minute now, but it has been a fast developing investigation here with the release of the videos late last night by authorities in a press conference where FBI Director Kash Patel was in attendance. They did not take any questions at that time. They simply said, this is the individual just moments after firing the shot that killed Kirk. You can see him running on a campus rooftop. He then lowered himself and jumped off onto the ground. Officials say that they left behind a crucial trail of evidence. DNA on that rooftop ledge, a shoe print on the ground, and then a high-powered rifle in a nearby wooded area. All of that will now likely be used by investigators to hopefully or potentially be tied to Robinson now that he is in custody. One thing we have yet to hear from officials, despite calling this a politically motivated assassination, we have yet to see any particular piece of evidence that could lend itself to showing this person's state of mind or motivation, political ideology, anything of that nature. This is where this investigation is really now going to dig in to anything Robinson may have in his possession at a residence, on his phone, on a computer. And so that is where the investigation stands on that front. Now that this individual is in custody, I should point out that this campus, this community, was not put on lockdown for a long period of time because officials believe that this was a targeted attack and that they did not believe anyone else was at risk.
Here we go. Here we go, guys.
In this community right now.
Morgan Chesky there. Morgan, stand by. This news conference is getting underway. That's
Director Kash Patel and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. The messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the three unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and three down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who's been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead after the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver it to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to dedication of good law enforcement being great and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is a very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that has stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere, and every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those, and specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option.
through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
Your
my-
generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we're suffering through right now.
I apologize, y'all.
Not by
I ended up
pretending
falling
that
asleep over here, man. I had a long night tonight, man.
having
Last
tough
night, man.
conversations.
Sorry.
I think we need more moral clarity right now.
Oh my God, I fell asleep.
All the time that
I fell asleep. I'm sorry.
words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person
Oh
responsible
God, man, this is fun.
for what happened here, and that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. You know, this bad stuff happens, and for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for. Just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, "Hey, we don't do that here." And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last two nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There's no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. And see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country, and he said, "I'm not optimistic." He said, "I hate optimism." God, that sounds bad. But he said, "Optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen." And he said, "In the history of the world, good things have never just happened." He says, "I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so." I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
When we speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and is either Tyler Robinson.
I cannot speak to that.
Governor, can you also Governor, how do you interpret
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those
those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "Catch Fascist." There's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this.
Yeah, what did those engravings on those bullets
that
mean?
Speaks for itself.
That's why I'm glad he didn't kill himself, so he can tell us.
Beyond that, is there anything in your view we discover that they have radicalized and changed it to profit?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor indicated that you've been communicating with a friend on Discord about guns. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
This time, any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
You believe
Yes.
you're alone?
Yes. But the investigation is ongoing.
Can you talk more about the family and what they had to say about the suspect?
Great question.
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5.
That's definitely him.
Right from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, I go here.
Can you talk more about what the family is saying?
I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. We obtained the gun. The gun was found here. So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County. Any information that may lead us to believe that? Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes.
That's definitely him,
right now.
without a doubt. Put some sunglasses on him and put that hat on him. That's him.
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history. Yes. The question is, what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history, or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look. I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late '60s, and having one.
I said the same thing.
Displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our.
Didn't I say I compared this to Robert F. K., JFK, and MLK?
Historically, we've not evolved in a way.
Just caught on camera.
We are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. There are people that is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together. The Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be. I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late '60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there, but this is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Clarify that the release of those enhanced images and API timeline that Director Patel gave us led to the arrest of 10 gangs. There are direct connection.
I cannot comment if
there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened. Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here. Yes.
The suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about
Timothy, I appreciate you, man. You have good sound and reason, bro. I appreciate you tuning into my podcast, man.
Student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I will just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Crook's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
All right, that was the governor of Utah, among other officials, including the FBI director, announcing that a suspect is in custody, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson of Utah. And we've learned a lot in that news conference. And while that was on, we also received the mugshot from this morning. I want to get Tom Winter in here. He's our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent. And there was a lot of information, including how it is that authorities became aware of this person. And it sounds like someone turned him in, a member of a family. The suspect spoke to a member of family who reached out to a family friend who called the sheriff's office.
That's exactly right, Savannah, and consistent with some of the reporting we were hearing earlier this morning. And the information, according to the governor, is that this person said that.
All right, guys. We just heard from the governor, other officials from the state of Utah. First of all, I want to appreciate everybody who's taking out their time of their day all over the world to check out my podcast. Appreciate the ones who sent the 67 likes, the 37 people who are remaining on the line right now. Well, we know who the shooter is. We found out a few details. I definitely want to, like I said, get back to thanking everybody for tuning into my show, especially tuning in when I fell asleep. I woke up and I'll be damned, I fell asleep doing live. But this has been fun, guys. Sorry that we got to know each other on a sad and somber day in America. I'm gonna check out a few things on this guy tonight, and so you guys get back in tune with the Neighborhood Superstar podcast, man. I'm gonna go live later and watch a couple of interviews to learn more about Charlie Kirk. I'm probably going to have a special guest on tonight with my wife. So, again, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning into the Neighborhood Superstar podcast. I'll see you soon. Stay tuned. I'm coming back live later tonight. Y'all have a good one. Peace.